Like and subscribe right now, or else this will be in your bed tonight. r/ask Reddit by Planet Reddit. What's a fact about you that sounds completely unbelievable? A Victoria's Secret model married me. I wrote a song that was played on the radio for years. I won a college bowl game. All of the above is true, but not nearly as impressive as it sounds. She was a catalog model, not the runway type. We were young. She was pretty damn amazing. I was 12 and got a keyboard for Christmas. I called the Friday night request DJ in my podunk town and told him I wrote him a song. He recorded it and opened his show with it for years because it was so campy. It was a community college bowl game. Impressive nonetheless. Or shucks. Thanks twerk teamer. Is your wife single? Two teenagers were locked out of their car and I had nothing in my car to use. So I got it open using a tree branch to hit the unlock button on the keyring. On the ground of the passenger's side floorboard. They called me MacGyver. Best compliment of my life. Reminds of the time I went home back from the army, not the American army, and wanted to take the bus home in my home city. I just missed the bus. The driver and the passengers saw me running and just started to drive away. So I took another bus that will intercept the first bus later on. It took a different route. So my bus got to the other station just 20 seconds before the first bus got there. The bus stops. I get on it and these two teenagers just stare at me. Then one of them asks me, "Are you Superman?" That was a nice feeling. And I got home 15 minutes later, which was even better. Haha, awesome compliment indeed. And that was nice of you. I often have to poop up to 6 times in a day. I don't know WTF is wrong with me. Edit. You guys are kind of scaring me, haha. I'll ask my doctor about the various conditions that you guys have mentioned. Edit. For those asking, I eat 2 eggs a day, a banana, a cup of pineapple, an apple, 2 tangerines, a vine of grapes, 2 kiwis, 8 strawberries, and for dinner and lunch I'll usually have some combination of rice and a meat, either chicken or beef, with some broccoli on the side. I drink about 8 bottles of water a day and a glass of OJ. About twice a week my dinner will be fast food. Looks like we're starting off strong, people. Let's keep this momentum going. I on the other hand thought it was normal to poop once a week. Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II almost ran me over driving a battered Land Rover of Lord Lichfield's estate in Staffordshire. If she did, I'm sure it would have been swiftly covered up. Plot twist. She didn't or is forced to lie about it. At least you know it wasn't on purpose. If she wanted you dead, the paparazzi would have followed you into a tunnel. I have 3 wisdom teeth and no appendix. Apparently my body just forgot to grow them. You are not Homo sapiens. You are Homo superior, identified by your lack of superfluous organs. We must make way for you're the start of the coming race. The earth is a BCH. We've finished our news. Homo sapiens have outgrown their use. All the strangers came today, and looks as though they're here to stay. As far as I know, the wisdom teeth aren't helpful in any way, but the appendix actually does serve a purpose. It acts as a reservoir of good gut bacteria to repopulate the GI tract in case of a bad infection, etc. Nowadays it's not helpful because we have antibiotics, so all it does is explode, but at least it's trying. An old bio teacher of mine said if we don't destroy ourselves or the planet, we'll probably evolve to lose wisdom teeth, appendix, and baby toes one day. Weird stuff. Chevy Chase was drunk driving up my street, crashed into my house, and completely ran over and destroyed my mailbox. After a conversation with his wife, who was extremely nice and apologetic, I walked up the street to meet Chevy personally, and he gave me a $750 check to pay for a new mailbox that in reality cost about $14 to replace. What about the part where he crashed into your house? In my head, I'm picturing this happening with the family truckster. Poor guy lived in his mailbox. That wasn't a $750 check for your mailbox. That was a $750 thanks for not calling the cops check. I went from homeless drug addict to a director position at a tech company in a span of 15 years. Put your story on r/casual conversation. I wanna hear this story. I was born with a birth defect and had one pointy ear, so technically I'm a half elf. Did you take up archery at any point? Unfortunately my eyesight is of an 80-year-old human. Well, that might be concerning, but it depends on whether or not you're an 80-year-old human. My father was a communist who tried starting a communist revolution multiple times throughout his 20s and 30s, while my mother was an anti-communist refugee from the then Soviet Union. Sounds like the plot to a Netflix original sitcom. I have never been inside a McDonald's, Burger King or a Wendy's in my life, and I am 24 and I live in the USA. This is literally one of the most unbelievable things on this question. I believe the medical problems on here and there stories because my dad has been brought back to life before himself, but this, the fact that someone in America has never been to McDonald's, Wendy's, or Burger King, crazy. Kind of sad when an extreme medical emergency is more believable than someone not going to a fast food restaurant. Thanks for the surprisingly thought-provoking answer. Yeah, lol. I am being 100% honest. I believe you. Sorry if it came off like I didn't. I just thought it was ridiculous and kinda saw how, as an American, I've never met someone who's never been to those fast food restaurants before, until now. I've died twice. Second time was dead nearly 20 minutes and suffered minimal brain damage. Had you thought ahead, you could have been the first person to claim their own life insurance twice. Shame. Since you died, which religion was correct? Each of them got something right. About 5% here or there. The closest anyone got was Doug Fawcett, this Canadian stoner kid from Calgary. He took some shrooms and ended up getting like 92% of the afterlife correct. We were all so surprised. I have somehow survived so many respiratory illnesses, including a collapsed lung, and shit that I should 100% be dead. Somehow, my behind keeps living. Edit. Due to overwhelming concern, I would like to elevate all worries by stating that my entire body is alive, not just my behind. Another really inspiring story. I'll have to tell my mom about it. She has really bad asthma and needs some hope sometimes. All my best wishes to her. Trust me, it's no fun when your lungs are actively working against you, but eventually things will get better. I hope she gets better, even if it takes some time. I have no sense of orientation at all. Every single time I cross a street or follow a road in any direction, take a turn, I get lost. Every street is completely new to me every time. Even though I lived in the same city for 36 years, I get lost at least 2 or 3 times a day. My mother had the same. She always had to use a compass and a map and ask directions every turn. I have Google Maps, haha, luckily for me. I didn't know you used Reddit, Grandma. I am the exact same way. I would get lost in my own neighborhood. Luckily, consumer GPS street mapping units were invented and literally enabled me to be successful in life. I've been shot twice by the same guy, 10 years apart. Been robbed at gunpoint by police in Mexico. Stabbed, tear-gassed, and I once partied with Anthony Kiedis. On the bright side, you now have a shitton of interesting stories to tell people. Not many people experience as much in life as you. Well, I'm also old. Respect. A horse fell on top of me and I broke 0 bones, and then rode that horse home. Was the horse okay? Same. My mare tripped and flipped onto me. Was essentially a rotational fall. I died once. Most people die once. That doesn't make you special. We'll talk again when he has died twice. Still not impressed. Shadows die twice all the time. I was my dad's 30th birthday gift. Born the same day, exactly 30 years apart. I had sex before I discovered what masturbation was. I can't help but think this is technically true for pretty much all sexually abused kids. You okay? Yeah, man. I found out quite early, so I knew pretty much everything about sex at like age 12. And then I think I had sex at like age 13. I thought the only way to come was by having sex. By the time I was almost 14, I found out via my friends that there was something called jerking off. I was super excited to get home and beat one off whenever I wanted. How the yuck and who the yuck. I won a silver medal in archery at an affiliated offshoot of the Olympics. That's so cool. Thanks, man. I'm an albino Mexican fraternal twin. This is a sick band name. Does that mean your twin is not albino? No, the twin isn't Mexican. I'm missing 3.5 ribs. Found Marilyn Manson. How did this rumor spread so far? I've never met anyone who didn't hear it at like the age of 11. Oops, have you tried it? I ate my twin in my mother's womb. Chang? El Tiger to Cabron. It's sucking raw. I was born without tonsils or an appendix. I think I stole your appendix. Mine regrew and became inflamed again after my appendectomy. You are not Homo sapiens. You are Homo superior, identified by your lack of superfluous organs. We must make way for you're the start of the coming race. The earth is a BCH. We've finished our news. Homo sapiens have outgrown their use. All the strangers came today, and looks as though they're here to stay. Man, I have too many mad stories. I tend to avoid telling half of them because they're pretty ridiculous. I have Morpheus scleroderma, an autoimmune thing which made my immune system attack my skin pigments and discolored a patch of me lol. I grew up in Scotland and because it was so rare I was dragged around to hospitals for dermatology specialists to prod at me for years. I've seen 4 different people stabbed on separate occasions. Seen my dad stabbed 3 times. LOL. Saw a dude after he'd been attacked with a hatchet and a claw hammer. Guy survived but barely. Had huge braces over him for months after. Been in a house fire. Well, apartment fire. Had to jump out a 2nd floor window as a 9-year-old. Been in 3 car crashes, one of which I wasn't wearing a seatbelt. Was thrown to a window as the car span out and we hit a tree which came through the back window where I was sitting and stuck in the back of my dad's headrest. If I had been wearing my seatbelt, there's a good chance my head would have been minced. Went to watch a football game when I was 15 and ended up in a full-scale riot consisting of 150,000 angry, drunken, Scottish football fans. Here is a link to some footage. Crazy day, and the list genuinely goes on. God is trying to kill you, mate. Well, he's done a pretty shit job so far. Haha. Was once knocked unconscious by a territorial alpaca. I have an inverted heart. My blood pumps the opposite way in my body than everyone else. You guys are pumping east. I'm pumping west. Are you in Australia by any chance? LOL. Not me, but my dad got hit by a truck, then a car, all on his way to school. He still went. When he told his gym teacher he couldn't run because he got hit by a truck and a car, the gym teacher gave him shit. The stories he must have to tell. In my day, walking to school was a life and death situation. You got it easy, sonny. I was born blind, but now I'm a pretty successful painter. Good for you. I love inspiring stories like that. I'm English and I don't like tea. Sacrilege. Blasphemy. I recently farted so violently that it was a full seat rumbler that no lie lost it for like 10-15 seconds straight with no cutouts whatsoever. It was so intense that I was legit lightheaded after and had to regain my composure. I have connections to famous people despite coming from a poor background. I'm related to a world famous author. Had family connections, not blood, to a rock star. Had family working on movie sets, etc. If I ever bring it up, it kinda sounds unbelievable. I have been shot through the face and spine from 10 inches away with a 9mm and have no lasting issues from it. Only an entrance and exit wound on my cheek and neck. I disarmed a group of hardcore German neo-Nazis with nothing but friendliness. Are you a shonen protagonist? I was hoping you were going to say mad dance skills and shirtlessness. One of my toenails grows diagonally. I have no idea why, how, or when it started. Really interesting. Do you have to maintain it a lot? Join our community Discord, link in description. Throughout my life, I have been the youngest child, the middle child, the oldest child and an only child, out of my siblings. I'm similar. I have 12 siblings. I'm number 8, the youngest biological. I'm 9 years younger than number 7. I was the youngest for many years. When I was 8 he went to college, and I became the only child left in the house, leaving me to grow up as an only child for a few years. When I was 12 my parents started adopting. That made me the acting oldest as I was the oldest at home, but truthfully in the middle. So really I'm a middle child. But I was youngest for most of my childhood and then became sort of an only child and an oldest child. The keel of my own fan surfboard stabbed my thigh after a big wave. If it had hit any other part I'd probably have serious problems or death if it had hit my torso or head. 13 years old. 13 stitches. I'm 15 and have flown a plane. Same, but I was 13 when I first flew one. Well, I had my Legoland driver's license by age 7. You got us all there, I've battled drug addiction, gambling addiction, extreme debt-income ratios, been married, divorced, very shortly, still getting finalized, have 2 beautiful girls, 5 and 3 months. I weighed 102 kilograms at my heaviest, down to 69 kilograms in 3 months via not particularly healthy diet change. Owned 40 plus different cars. Been a retail store to Ike, a bar manager, a small business owner. Currently working as a shot firer, mining explosives operator. Currently writing a course to train people to do said job, and a work of fiction hoping to be published. Probably missed a few bits and pieces. Only 27 years old. Well shit, I just masturbate a lot and play video games. That too. See, I missed bits. One of my pupils is bigger than the other. You're a teacher? I can dislocate my entire right hand at the wrist. Does it hurt? No, it's like popping a knuckle. Just a weird, but very dulled pop, except it looks like my arm is broken because the hand is a centimeter or 2 to one side. Side note, why doesn't Reddit know the word centimeter? I used to be a model. A lot of people find it hard to believe since I'm not exactly eye candy, but as a child my parents owned a clothing brand for children and so my sister and I modeled for it. I lit a cigarette in the winds of Hurricane Katrina. Several cigarettes, actually. I was at the hospital with my dad because he wasn't well enough to evacuate and, well, you can't smoke inside of the hospital, lol. I can change my eye color between brown and green at will. Takes a minute but I can. Whoa, so interesting. My sister apparently had her eyes change multiple colors while we were growing up. Both of my parents remember that. You should post a video of that on YouTube sometime. If might get views. I might just. I have choked under pressure before when people wanted to see, but I'm sure I could hone it more with practice. I have never seen a Star Wars movie, have no concept of how or what it is all about, but just know that this is somehow a popular movie. I have never seen The Lion King because my parents would always switch channels saying you've seen it 100 times already. The late Brian Christopher Grandmaster Sexay punched me square in the left eye in the ring at a Legends Wrestling event in 2002. I had to stand in as a referee at the last minute and I had no fucking clue what I was doing. Apparently I was looking the wrong way and he didn't like that, so I got hit. I had a hole in my face for a while. I too have a mouth. Bro, I would like to hear more but only if you're comfortable with it. No pressure, dude. Not that interesting. I was sledding with my brother and the sled broke, with me falling on it. It wasn't that big, but I do have a visible scar reminding me. It was around my mouth area. It healed itself a couple days later. I had 2 international, 1 national and 1 state level award in 2 different fields before I turned 18. I was briefly the suspect in a mini horse murder investigation. Still a virgin, I know, with all my good looks. I was a virgin until I was 34, a combination of only being interested in a few men over that time and having only a few men interested in me, with no Venn diagram overlap. I was a practicing Christian too, so felt no real incentive to escalate things. It ended when a casual friendship of 5 years developed into something more. Currently together for 11 years, married for 5. He still thinks I'm sexy as fuck. I have long kidneys. Found out in an scan trying to find out something else. Tea makes me drunk. A single glass of standard Lipton's iced tea and I am giggly, silly, fall down drunk, look me dead in the eye and deadpan say joke and I will piss myself laughing for half an hour. All well and good. Cheap drunk, right? But I get a devastating hangover the next day. Head pounding. Throwing up. The whole bit. Alcohol almost never gives me a hangover, but tea hangovers are absolutely miserable. I fell 13 meters in a stunt show, stood up and finished the show without a broken bone. Edit. It was the Wild West stunt show in Disney Paris. Floor was sand over concrete. I found out randomly I'm Bob Marley's third, I think, cousin. I am named after my mom's favorite cat, and my dad wanted to name me Godzilla. I can blow myself, but I didn't like, so now that I'm not gay. You're wasting the powers another man needs. I almost got killed by a bear. I'm half centaur by birth. Both my parents were the same, so maybe I'm more than half. Haven't had a genetics test to scope it out. I briefly held the record for the world's youngest person. I was Time Magazine Person of the Year in 2006. I have the power to make random people around the world think about the saliva in their mouth and the position of their tongues. Not all that interesting, but instead of having a cycle of 4 weeks like most women do, I have a cycle of 2 months. So instead of being on my period every 4 weeks, I am only on my period once every 2 months. I am a healthy 21-year-old and don't know why this is. I've traveled to Europe twice on my own before turning 18. I'm Canadian. My ancestry is a complete mix of many ethnicities, but according to genetic tests, my DNA 100% matches the ancient populations of Central Asia. Yep, my parents accidentally reconstructed pure Aryan race. I also have blue eyes and blonde hair, but different face than the Aryans from Nazi books. According to the 19 anthropology books, I count as a pure Cro-Magnon, which is the rarest of all types in Europe, and neither of my parents count as it. When I was 10 on a holiday in Cuba, we went on a 5-person catamaran excursion to do some snorkeling. Well, lo and behold, Hurricane Katrina was in the neighborhood and nobody told us to worry since it wasn't coming too close. Turns out the tail end of the storm whipped up enough of a storm over us to make me damn glad I wasn't directly in its path. The day seemed calm at first. It rained a bit, but it did every day. The sky was overcast but not menacing. I remember vividly after an hour at sea and returning to the resort, the sky changing from grey overcast to black. That was our first clue something was wrong. As we got maybe half a mile from shore, our Cuban skipper/guide looked a bit off color, and his English, sketchy at the best of times, suddenly became very accented and hard to understand as he pointed off back where we came from with panic in his eyes. "Wind," he said. "The wind is coming." We looked around, and there was a tornado. Not nearby, a mile or 2 off maybe, but close enough to see it sucking up the Caribbean Sea and causing us all to collectively soil ourselves. So yeah, 10 out of 10 would sail through a storm again. My tongue had been inside more Abrahams than my D. Neither my mother nor my father have wisdom teeth, and no one on either side of the family has had wisdom teeth as far back as we know. My sisters also don't have any wisdom teeth. Somehow, I ended up with 8. I've had sex with the same amount of men as I have women. 0. I was low-key part of some weird Amish-like cult when I was younger, not by choice. I recently made a Reddit friend because she offered to put her phone in her cleavage for me. I am a victim of a pedophile ring, and still suffer mental pain 20 years later. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for 3 videos a day.